Get a 27-20 win over the Los Angeles Rams. The Saints now 4-7 on the season, making some headway in the NFC South. Alongside John DeShazer, our senior Saints writer, I'm Erin Summers. Let's start with things on the offensive side of the ball, JD. Andy Dalton throws 21 of 25, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns, all to different receivers, and no interceptions. How do you think he managed the game today?
Well, if you don't throw any interceptions and you complete 80% of your passes and 3 touchdowns, great. The Saints went with a little bit of a rotation at the quarterback almost every other snap. So I think that was enough to keep the Rams a little bit off balance. Taysom Hill out there mainly to run the football, but he did have a couple of passes. But it was enough to keep the Rams off balance defensively. And for this game, you do whatever it takes to win on that particular Sunday. The rotation worked for this game. But Andy Dalton, I think, after a really difficult week at Pittsburgh last week, responded and rebounded very, very well this week to do what he was able to do, knowing he was going to be limited in his snaps.
Fans have been clamoring for a little bit more offensive diversity, maybe a little bit of Taysom Hill added in different areas. As you mentioned, he was coming in at quarterback. Did see him throwing the ball some. He had a reception, and he was running as well. He actually led the team with 52 rushing yards today. What did you like about his usage?
Well, he's just such a physical presence when they use him offensively in the backfield. It doesn't work against every team all the time, but it certainly seems to work enough to where the Saints should use it as much as they possibly can, because it's a philosophy that they employ that they're able to really be effective with. Taysom Hill is a big, big dude. People don't, I think, want to tackle him a whole lot.
Doesn't look like it.
As the game progresses. And so, you get him into the third quarter, or if you can get him into the secondary, folks don't want to hit him. He's a big guy. So to be able to add that presence, because the Saints needs to run it. They didn't run it well, 24 times, 88 yards, but they ran it enough to keep the Rams honest defensively, which is what you have to do. You've got to have some balance, and they were able to do that with Taysom.
They're able to get into the end zone 3 times, once to Jarvis Landry, once to Juwan Johnson, who has been a favorite target for Andy Dalton. He had his 5th touchdown reception of the year in 5 straight games. He's had 1 each. And then Chris Olave getting in the end zone. It was great to see him because he's been somebody that's been leading this team in receptions, receiving yards. In fact, he leads all rookies in both of those categories. Just hadn't gotten in the end zone as many times as he probably would like. Did so today, had his 3rd game with over 100 yards receiving, so he has been very productive. How did you feel about the way that the Saints were using the different receivers in this game and going to different places?
Yeah, I thought it was a good mix and match. I mean, you get your tight ends involved, Juwan Johnson. You're able to get it out wide some with Chris Olave. You're able to work the middle some with Jarvis Landry, who ends up with a touchdown. And I think you're able to spread it around. Again, keep the defense honest. Let them not know where the ball is coming, and make all of you guys a valuable asset to the offense. Chris Olave getting deep on people is becoming a broken record. I don't know how he continues to do it.
I think it was 53 yards, right, on that touchdown?
And they're able to scheme him open and get him a touchdown. Jarvis Landry with a nice one in the red zone, as well as Juwan Johnson on a tough catch, 3rd down in the red zone. So a couple of red zone scores makes this offense a lot better, because you've got to be able to score in those situations when you get it close. Can't always depend on the 53-yarder. You don't always want to have to settle for field goals, which they ended up doing one time in the red zone. But getting touchdowns is critical in that situation.
There were a couple red zone stops, a couple sacks, more than a couple sacks. We talked about the offensive line coming into this one. How do you think they held up?
Well, I think pretty well. I mean, when you consider the Rams defense, you consider what Aaron Donald brings to that defensive line and the way he's able to get teammates open because he's so explosive. He is a load, and I don't know what his stats were, but they won't speak to what his effectiveness is in any game unless he ends up with 5 sacks. So the Saints were able to hold up pretty well. I thought a couple times Dalton maybe could have gotten rid of it and not taken the sack, but he probably just didn't want to make the mistake. He probably just decided to eat it, and in fact he did eat it before he threw the red zone touchdown to Juwan Johnson. So he worked out of that one. But some of those times you want to see him get rid of the ball, not take that loss, but still a 10-point win after consecutive losses. The Saints will take what they have.
Yeah, 2 sacks by the Rams, Floyd and Gaines. Actually, Aaron Donald never got to the quarterback. He only had 4 tackles in this game. So somebody who was kind of held in check, somebody that they were definitely watching out for, trying to keep an eye on throughout this game. You mentioned the sacks to Dalton. There's 4 total there. And I think there was one, Taysom Hill, when he came in at quarterback, he got sacked as well. Back-to-back sacks on that one drive that ended up in a field goal. Flipping to the defensive side of things, we knew we were going to be without some players on the defensive line. Defensive end, Cameron Jordan, not able to go today, and then Peyton Turner gets hurt early in this game. How did that have an effect on play?
Well, you lose the guy who probably was the best pass rusher on the field for the Saints, and Peyton Turner. But they were able to make do. They sent Demario Davis on the blitz. He got home. They sent Caden Ellis on the blitz. He was able to get home. They're able to get a sack out of Carl Granderson and some more pressure from the inside. So they're able to get to it. Now, you're able to get to it because they take the lead. You get the Rams in position to where they've got to throw the football a little bit more. You knock Matthew Stafford out of the game for the Saints, and you get in Bryce Perkins, who there's not a lot of tape on, so he was difficult to deal with early. But once they got him down by 10, they were able to get in a position to where they said, okay, we're going to rush this young, inexperienced quarterback, and they were able to get him on the ground a few times. So that worked in the Saints' favor. You want to see them be able to rebound. I don't know how many bodies they have left, to be honest with you, because if Cam Jordan can't go next week, and that's questioning whether he might be able to. If Marcus Davenport can't go, and we don't know the status of Peyton Turner, that really eats into the quality of the depth that you have at that position.
So it was an ankle for Peyton Turner. He was listed as questionable to start and then ruled out. We're going to go ahead and toss things over to the press room. It looks like head coach Dennis Allen is at the podium.
I really thought offensively, I thought we played really well in the game. Specifically there in the second half for us to be able to move the ball like we did. I mean, coming out in the second half to start the second half and getting the touchdown, it was a huge momentum boost for us. So, happy to get the win and ready to get back to work.
In the third quarter, were there things you saw at halftime? Was there something you identified that we can go after that?
I think we felt like there were some opportunities for us, and I think our guys took advantage of those opportunities. So, we felt like there was some stuff that we could do in the run game that we liked against them, and we got to a few of those plays in the second half. And I don't know that the touchdown pass to Olave was under the circumstances was what we kind of expected, but we got a good look, and Olave ran a great route, and Andy put the ball on him. It was great protection. Our offensive line, I think, for as banged up as they are, I thought they came out, against a really good front and played outstanding in the game. So there's a lot of young guys that stepped up and took on an added role and played well.
Coach, did y'all match up, or did you, during practice during the week, did you match up pro Stafford against where he's sitting out for some reason? Because I know you didn't know exactly the timeline.
Yeah, we had a pretty good feel for Stafford playing in the game, and so we had a little bit of a plan for Perkins being in the game, but yet we didn't expect to see him, for a whole half. So we had to make a few adjustments there as we went along. But yeah, we kind of anticipated seeing Stafford, and then we had to adjust a little bit when we saw, a lot more Perkins.
Yeah, you guys had 3 guys out on the offensive line and did a pretty good job of keeping Aaron Donald at bay for the most part. What was kind of the emphasis there this week with that matchup?
Yeah, put as many hats on him as we can. I mean, he's a hell of a player, and it's hard to block him with one. It's hard to block him with 2. We just tried to put as many hats on him as we could and try to limit his ability to just take over the game. And I thought overall, our guys did a pretty good job. I mean, I know we made some plays, but I thought overall, I think the offensive line deserves a lot of credit. I think the offensive coaches, and specifically the line coaches, getting those guys ready to play, I thought that was outstanding.
Coach, it seemed the average drive start was between the 30 and 35-yard line. How much did that factor into the success of the offense today?
Well, look, I mean, anytime you get good field position, it's beneficial, for the offense, and we've talked about that a lot in terms of creating field position for the offense. and look, we had a punt that we pinned them down there on, I think, the 3-yard line. We were able to, get off the field defensively and create some field position there. So I think that's really what a complementary game's all about. That's really what a team wins all about, is creating field position and taking advantage of it when you got it.
That was about seeing the snap count breakdown between Taysom and Andy. It looked like the decision was pretty much kind of rotate those guys in and have a lot today. What went into that decision? Why was that the way against kind of one of the?
Yeah, look, I mean, I just think, each week we go in and try to, figure out what's the best way that we can move the ball and be effective and score points. And, I felt like we had a good plan for both Andy and Taysom at the quarterback position. And I thought Pete called a good game. I thought those guys went out there and executed the plan. So it's always good when it works, right? I mean, everybody, but I thought the offense did a really good job.
Just following up on that a little bit, was the plan going in to kind of get Taysom a lot of run, or was it just something that developed during the game?
No, the plan going in was to get Taysom involved, and so as a matter of fact, I think Andy got a little frustrated throughout the week that we had so many plays where Taysom was in at the quarterback position. But that's the great thing about our group. Our group just wants to win, and they'll do whatever they have to do to try to win, and that was something that we felt gave us a good chance this week, and our guys went out and executed it.
Dennis, not that you need any justification, but do you think today's play by Andy kind of cemented your belief in, making
look, we're just trying to win games, and so I don't really look at it that way. We put a plan together offensively to go out and execute. I think our players went out and executed it at a high level, and we won a football game. And so we'll take that, we'll feel good about it, and we'll get ready to move on to the next one.
Coach, look at the stats here. 2 penalties today. Clearly it's something that smart football, I guess. I mean, what's your thoughts on just playing a clean game today?
Yeah, well, look, we didn't do things that were going to beat ourselves today, and that was good to see. Look, I thought we had a great week of practice. I thought our guys were locked in and focused in on the plan. They knew what we had to do, and we had some guys that haven't played a lot that stepped up and did some good things.
Dennis, was this the most that you've used Taysom in passing, just pure pass plays as opposed to mostly running it? And would you say this is maybe your recipe going forward offensively, is to have a bigger mix of each guy at quarterback?
Yeah, I think we got to look at that on a week-by-week basis. I'm not ready to sit here and say that we're going to just carbon copy the game plan for next week. Next week we got a different opponent. It'll be challenging. So, but yeah, I thought it was a good plan, and I thought our guys executed it.
I was going to ask you this even before you mentioned that about Andy splitting the snaps with Taysom in practice this week. How has Andy responded to the kind of the not for sure knowing how long he's going to be in this role?
He's a veteran player. He's been in this league for a long time. He understands how things operate. And look, we all know as a football team, all of us understand that when you're not having the success that you want to have, then everything's going to get evaluated. And so I think he's handled it outstanding. I think our whole group's handled, the pressures of the season, and not probably living up to some of the expectations that we had for ourselves. I think they've all handled that well, and I think it showed out there today.
And yeah, Andy's performance, but the offense as a whole today, after admittedly the last 2 weeks had probably been the least effective offensive performances, was that really important to see that response this week?
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome. And I give a ton of credit to the offensive coaches and the offensive players. And again, put a good plan together, go out and execute the plan. And that's what they did today.
Hey, Dennis, how do you feel like the defensive line did, especially without Cam and Davenport?
It looked like looked like they played pretty well. I don't know that we got as much pressure as I would have liked early on, on the especially in that 2-minute drive. I thought we were more effective getting after the quarterback in the second half. But I think overall it looked to me, on the hoof that they did pretty well. And obviously we lost Peyton fairly early in the game, so.
Speaking of complimentary football, can you speak to all three phases of the game today, as well as the punt returns, if you don't mind?
Yeah, look, I thought, really with the exception of probably the one return, I thought all three phases, played well today. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a ton of negatives to talk about. There was just guys that went out and played good football. And that's what you have to do in our league. You have to just go out and do your job and just play good football. And I thought we did that today.
Dennis, did you think your team had kind of a backs against the wall type of mentality this week, and just kind of knowing how important it is to get some positive momentum at this stage of the season?
Yeah, look, we're well aware of where we're at in the season, and I thought our guys came out and they were swinging today, and it was good to see.
It can be kind of hard to gauge with a punter, but it has Blake Gillikin kind of gotten into a groove the last few weeks?
Well, he certainly was in a little bit of a groove today, it looked like. So I thought he punted the ball well today. And so that's part of, just getting the consistency, each and every week. And that's all of us. Okay, thanks.
Hey, Taysom, earlier this week, Adam Troutman said that the more desperate team was winning today. How desperate was the team going into this game, you feel like?
Yeah, I mean, I think DA just said it. We're well aware of where we're at in the season and our record and everything else. But, look, I think we approach every week with the same mentality. And, I think this week there may have been a more added emphasis on going out to win the football game, right? Like, what do we have to lose? So let's call everything we've got on this call sheet. Let's push the ball down the field. And I would say that maybe that was emphasized a little bit more than in weeks past.
Do you back at quarterback now, it seems like what Dennis said, at least from week to week, does that make you happy being back in this role? I know it's kind of been a juggling act all season.
Yeah, look, me personally, I don't feel like anything has ever changed, like from, 2018 to where we're at now. So there was a lot of conversation earlier about me going to the tight end room and what that was going to look like and everything else. But as I talked and met with Pete, at the end of the day, the conversation was, hey, we just want to use you more, and so we want to make sure that we are preparing you for what we're going to ask of you. And so I feel like that's what that was. And so as the season's played out, or we just played this game, week 11, I'm not surprised at how things have gone. And this is kind of how I have always envisioned it. And then every week is a little bit different, right? Like we got ahead throughout the game and kind of allowed us to run everything we had this week and the call sheet, and created more opportunities for me. But there's still opportunities in previous week. We just didn't get to them.
Was this the most extensive package they had for you, or was all the stuff you did today in the package, you just got to more of it today?
Yeah, I think what you said second is right. We just got to it more today. And, you look at the last few weeks, we just didn't have very many snaps. And so, I think every game is a little bit different. And, the focus is whatever, like, what do we have to do to win this week? And I had a few more opportunities.
Has Pete used you more in the quarterback position this year, you think? Or have you guys developed that more during practice? Or do you think it's just a per game, per scheme, per strategy?
Honestly, I don't feel like anything has really changed from what I've done to years past with Sean versus what I've done with Pete. So I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah.
When you mentioned that it was sort of a what do we have to lose approach this week, what is players' moods and mentalities like? Was there a need for a pick-me-up, or energy has really remained high? Like, I mean, how did that factor in not only to the approach, but what was the energy and the attitude of players after two tough losses?
I think the attitude was, man, like just go cut it loose. I think early on there was a lot of conversation of how we're going to win football games, and maybe create a little hesitancy, and I felt like, because our division hasn't played well, right? And so we weren't playing great. We kept losing games, and so, but the message was we're still in it. And I think the mindset this week was, hey, let's get rid of any anxiety. Let's go cut it loose. What do we have to lose at this point? And let's go play our brand of football and not worry about anything else.
I know you can't make this comparison for the whole team, but does that possibly lead to, there were like no penalties, I don't think, on offense today and stuff. I mean, does playing without anxiety actually help that category as well? I mean, yeah, you talk about as a team, as a player, like it's hard to play tight, and I don't know how everybody was feeling this week, but I know that we had conversations offensively about like playing for each other. Like you're in that huddle, there's only 11 you guys out there, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. So let's just go have fun together, and maybe that carried over to the no penalties and execution and everything else, but it's hard to say.
Obviously, the offensive line is banged up, and you're running a lot of power sets. When that's the case, does that affect kind of how you approach particular plays, the kind of gaps you're trying to go at, and how do you think that group kind of held up today?
I mean, I thought they did a great job. I haven't seen statistically what the numbers were, but I felt like we ran the ball really well, and those guys came in and battled. So I was really impressed with what they did, and I think, on the next level up, I thought the coaches, the element of what makes a coach great, and I think we got great coaches in there, is they put us players in a position to be successful, and it doesn't matter if you're the backup or the third, whatever it is, like their job, and they spend a lot of time putting us in positions where they think we'll be successul, and they did that.
There were no penalties or turnovers on offense. Did it feel like a clean game out there for y'all?
For sure. Yeah, we're well aware the ball security stuff is talked about a lot, and field position, time of possession, all those things. Like we were able to just check the box this week.
And the phrase like "we beat ourselves" has been used before. Does this finally feel like we beat the opponent?
Yeah. I guess I haven't really thought much of it from that perspective, but it's tough to win a game in this league if you're turning the ball over and if you're putting yourself in second, third and long situations because of penalties. And, again, I haven't seen the statistics, but I imagine we were pretty good on third down too because of that.
I know on one of the scoring drives, I think you and Andy rotated every play. And then Dennis just alluded to the fact that it was kind of difficult for Andy at practice to grasp that, I guess. Do you remember the last time you rotated quite that much at the quarterback position? I mean, would it be BYU or high school or ever?
No. I was in high school at BYU. I just played quarterback, But look, I think, I don't want to speak for Andy, but, I think a lot of Andy. I think a lot of Jameis. I've got a great relationship with both of those guys. And so I never felt any, tension or anything, like that. Andy and I maybe have like a little running joke, like, hey, you can take this play off, or, whatever it may be. But, man, I'm Andy's biggest fan, and I feel like he's my biggest fan too, and at the end of the day, the end goal is the same. So it doesn't matter how we get there as long as we're winning football games.
Taysom, what does a win like this then do moving forward here for the team?
Say that again?
What does a win like this do then for the team moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, that's a Ram team that's a little banged up, but they won the Super Bowl last year, and we're well aware of that. And I think the mindset is, hey, let's continue to build on what we did. So we've talked about offensively at least, no turnovers, no penalties. Man, and if we continue to play that style of football, we're going to be a really tough team to beat. So as we forecast in the next week, let's continue to do that, and that'll be the mindset. All good? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Olave.
You've had a great season. This was just another step for you. Just take me through the touchdown. That was a big play in this game.
We dialed up a really good play. Coach called a really good play on third down. We kind of practiced that against that look this week, and we got the look we wanted. And Andy threw a great ball, line protected well, and that was the outcome.
Chris, how much would you say you guys needed this?
It was much needed. Y'all seen the games we've been through. We had 2 consecutive bad games, and just to get a win against the reigning champs was huge, and I feel like that's a great step we're taking forward.
How does the movement at quarterback between Andy Dalton and Taysom Hill, how does it feel for you from the receiver position? Obviously, y'all work through this a lot, but does that have any impact on your game at all?
Not really. I just try to help them as much as possible. They're both great quarterbacks, as long as Jameis, but they're doing a great job. OC's doing a good job, so I'm just there to be supportive and make sure I'm doing my job so they can count on me.
Chris, that third quarter offensively is probably one of the better quarters that this offense has had this season. What was going, from your perspective, going right with the offense, and were there any major changes you guys made at halftime going into that third quarter offensively?
Not really. We just came out aggressive. We knew we had to move the ball down the field and score points to win the game. So that's what we did coming out of halftime, and we just started clicking in the second half. And like we said, we just took over the momentum, and defense played a great game also. So like I said, we just got some good plays going early and just built on that in the second half.
How much pride do you take in your ability to stretch the field and really make some of those deep plays happen?
I feel like that's my job. That's why they drafted me to come here. I feel like I could just stretch the field and try to get open at all times when I'm running a route. And I feel like I just try to make it easier on the quarterback, and my teammates make me a lot better. And I feel like the coaches and everybody in the organization, we definitely needed this win, and we come out with some energy in the second half, and I feel like we got some momentum going forward into next week.
Can you talk about the advantage of having Jarvis back out there with you?
It's huge having him on and off the field. He's a leader. He's a great leader, as he was through his career. He's got that dog mentality, so it rubs off on other people. And having him off the field when things aren't going well, he's always there picking everybody up and doing all the little things that matters the most. I feel like Jarvis was a great pickup, and he's definitely helped me out throughout my first year. So.
Chris, when you guys are down 3 offensive linemen, you're going against a guy like Aaron Donald, do you guys put any pressure on yourself or anything like, hey, I got to get open quicker? Does anything change with the approach, just given that circumstance?
Yeah, it's Aaron Donald, but it's really a race against the D-line. And we knew we was playing against Aaron Donald, and he's a great player, probably one of the best players in the league. So we definitely wanted to speed up everything and try to get open, but we just wanted to stick to our game, and we knew if we played our game, it was going to come out well. So. Appreciate it.
Andy, the long one to Chris. When you let go of it, did it feel right? Talk about what you saw in that play, and I'm guessing you're pretty happy with that throw, right?
Yeah, for me, I had a little pressure too. So when you turn it loose and then you get hit, you're on the ground, you never know what's going to happen. But to have that outcome, to feel like I put the ball in a great spot. Chris was, exactly how we had it planned. Taking that shot down the field, and we got a look that we wanted, and he made a big play.
Have you been waiting on that one? Like you just said, you got the look you wanted. Was that one that you were sort of sitting on to get the look you wanted?
Well, I mean, every time you drop a game plan, you install your plays. It's like, all right, you'd love to have this look versus certain plays, and you don't always get the look that you want. And for us, when Pete called it, it was the perfect time. And so, I mean, it happened exactly how we were hoping it would.
How aware were you that Aaron Donald was closing in on that particular play?
I was pretty aware, So, I mean, I'll just ask Chris about speeding up, your routes and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, you got to play on time. And when you can play on time, good things happen. And half a second longer, then that's a sack, incomplete pass. But for us, you guys doing the exact thing that we're exactly how we want it done. And if you can play on time at the quarterback position and get the ball out, good things can happen.
How big were those 2 drives coming out of halftime? Obviously, you guys were down going into half and coming out and getting those 2 touchdown drives.
Huge. I think when we knew we were getting the ball at the start of the second half, and especially since they scored right before halftime, for us, you wanted to get into a rhythm early, and I thought that we did a great job of being aggressive. First play of second half, got a big play to Chris, and then we just had the momentum from then on. So to go down and score was huge and exactly what we wanted to do.
I know Chris has been your consistent receiver, at least that you've found. Having Jarvis back this week, how much is that big to y'all's effect, at least on offensive strategy?
Yeah, I mean it's really big. Everybody knows what Jarvis can do, what he's done throughout his whole career, and so to get him back in the mix, I think we can continue to find ways to get him the ball. He made some big plays for us. Obviously, the touchdown was awesome, exactly what we want. But a couple plays before, he caught a nice seam ball that allowed us to get down there.
Obviously, one of the things this team hasn't been able to do this year is win back-to-back games. Were there things in this game that you think, from an offensive perspective, were figured out, and how do you kind of roll that forward into next week to kind of get on a streak?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we've got to carry over the momentum into this week. And so, that's the most important thing we can do. We can enjoy this one today, but moving forward, we got to find ways that the things that we did really well, things that we can build on, and find the things that we need to correct. And that's the nature of this game. And when you week in and week out, you got to correct the mistakes, but it's easier to correct the mistakes off of a win. And I think everybody understands that, and the feeling around the building after a win is always way more positive than the opposite.
Taysom talked about a little bit like of a different mentality, sort of a let it rip mentality, try anything. Did you sort of feel that, like, let's just give everything a shot today?
Yeah, I think that's kind of just where we're at, and what we need to do is just cut it loose. So why not, And for us, I felt like there was some things that we did today that maybe earlier in the season we probably wouldn't have done. And so I think that's a big reason why we're sitting here with a win today.
Like what? I'm sorry.
Well, I just think being aggressive. I think that's something that I think we came into the game knowing that we could do. Shoot, you can look at the first third down of the game, throwing the ball down the field on 3rd and 1. And I think that's just the mindset mentality that we have to have.
What does this win mean for you guys at this point in the season?
Yeah, after a couple losses, when you finally get another win under your belt, it feels good. It feels exactly, for us, just the way we talked this week and the things that we wanted to get done, we were able to do it. So, it's nice to get this win this week.
What was it like for you just kind of splitting snaps with Taysom coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out? And what are some of the challenges of that for a quarterback?
Yeah, it's part of how we play offense. And when you can play that way and have success with me in there, then Taysom in there, and the defense doesn't know what what's going to happen next. So, no, it's just part of the way we play.
Andy, well, two-parter because I wanted to ask. I think DA cracked a smile when he said it, but he said you were getting a little frustrated this week with how many snaps Taysom took at quarterback. I don't know if he was joking or not, but is that hard? Is that something that you do actually have to overcome? I mean, that makes it a little harder?
No, I'm never upset with the number of snaps that that Taysom takes because I know how successful we've been able to be with it and how many positive plays come from it. So, yeah, I mean, Taysom's a unique asset for us, and you know, a lot of teams have really good players. We happen to have one that can be all over the field and actually play quarterback too, and so I think that's our advantage. And for me, there's no discouragement when it happens.
And then I just want to, I mean, I know you've been in situations where you've been the backup and been in and out of the lineup in recent years, but sort of this week to week, not knowing even at the beginning of the week for sure if you'd be starting this week or how short it could be, and then to respond the way you did, I mean, was that something difficult to overcome? Are you proud of the way you kind of played through this week?
You know, I think at the end of the day, I'm happy with the way that we were able to play today. And the adversity that we had faced the last couple weeks, especially offensively, everybody talks about we obviously haven't scored enough points. We obviously haven't played as well as we had in previous weeks. But for us to put all that aside and focus on this game, what we were trying to accomplish, we had a great plan going in, and we went out and executed it, regardless of all the other stuff that goes on. I think that's what makes you the most proud. And, you know, that's for me personally and for this group.
You mentioned that early 3rd and 1 earlier. I believe that one was to Juwan Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 5 touchdowns over the past 5 weeks. How would you describe what he's brought to this team?
Yeah, Juwan has done so many good things, and his ability to stretch the field and get open, and the matchup that we get with him has been really, really good for us. And it doesn't surprise me that he scored, you know, as many touchdowns as he has these last several weeks. So, I mean, he's a really good player for us.
How close were you guys to hitting on that trick play? I don't know if you got to look at it a second time after coming off the field or anything like that.
I don't know. I haven't. I'll have to watch it on film. I'm going to say it probably wasn't the most ideal look for it, but I've got to find a way to throw it away. I can't take that big sack.
Andy, when the coach sticks with you, do you want to reward him with something like what you did today?
I think at the end of the day, I want to play the way I know I'm capable of playing. And I know if I do that, then, you know, everybody will be happy with it. And so at the end of the day, you know, I feel like I have to do the job that I know that I'm capable of doing and play the way I'm capable of playing, and the rest of that, all that stuff will take care of itself. Thank you all.
Greetings, everybody.
How much fun was that? It looked like you and Kate and Ellis were sort of running around a lot. Looked like you guys were having fun. How much fun was all of that?
It's great when we're able to come out and play with the energy and the speed that we're capable of, able to pin our ears back and play fast. And it was just one of those evenings, and so it was a ton of fun.
After last week and all the defensive penalties, how rewarding was it to have such a clean game?
It's a week-by-week basis. I feel like where we're at in the season, you can't look before, you can't look behind you. You just play the day that's in front of you. And there were some things that we did well today, certainly some things that we can improve on. Regardless, we got to look at the tape and just find a way to keep leveling up. It was great that we were able to do enough today to get the win, but let's continue to find ways to get better.
Mario, a couple of guys have talked about sort of the cut it loose and play for each other message from this week. How important did you guys recognize after those two losses in particular how important it was to try to stave off any possible despair at this stage of the season?
I think I communicated earlier, the main thing is focus on where you're at. And all we had today was the opportunity that was in front of us today. Understanding our message was you bend but you never break. This team has always been resilient, so no matter what it was coming in, every day is an opportunity to snap back. And today we were able to do that, and it was a lot of fun doing it.
Demario, how difficult is it to adjust when a quarterback goes down and there's a different, I guess, skill set of the backup quarterback? How difficult is that to adjust as a defense?
That's the importance of studying film. That wasn't the first time we were seeing that quarterback. He's played a ton on film. He's been a kind of a change of pace quarterback. When he come in, we knew he could run the ball well. He would come in on kind of a wildcat offense. I think they use him in a lot of ways like we use Taysom. And so we had seen him on film, certainly not in like a 2-minute situation where we got a chance to see him multiple times. He did some good things and made it challenging on us. And it was great that ultimately we were able to get after him and prevail.
Mario, what do you think of the way Caden Ellis has kind of responded to being put in that starting lineup after Pete went down?
Oh, man. 5'5" has probably been, for the last couple years, the best kept secret in the NFL. We knew what type of player he was, and now he's getting that opportunity, and he's showing it to the world. I don't know if anybody's shocked when they watch it in our building. I'm sure he's shocking a lot of people who didn't know. But just give it time. He's going to be on everybody's radar.
When you guys are missing that many defensive linemen, was there anything different on your plate this week because of that, either in the pass rush scheme or otherwise, when that many guys are out?
I mean, we take it one day at a time, and it's always a next up mentality. It's actually quite phenomenal when you think that we don't have Marshawn Lattimore, we don't have Roby, we don't have Davenport, we don't have Cam Jordan, we lose Peyton Turner, we don't have Pete Werner. I mean, you think about all the guys that we have that play at a high level that's not in our lineup on the defense. For us still to be able to go out there and execute is really phenomenal, and it feels really good. But that's just the nature of the league. One of our slogans is, most people don't care about your problems, and the other half or the rest of the people are glad you got them. And so regardless, you have to find a way, and it was great that we were able to do that today.
Demario, when the team has faced as much adversity as you have this year, what's your leadership approach and what type of leadership are you bringing to the defense?
If you go back and watch my message to the team today is you can learn a lot from nature. And if you think about palm trees, they bend but they don't break. And hurricanes come to the palm trees all the time, and they lean all the way to the ground, but they never break. And the reason why they don't is because every time there's a storm, they just dig deeper. Their roots go deeper in the ground, and that's what we do. Every storm, that's the great thing about not just this team, but this city. It's so resilient, and we've been faced with a lot of adversity. And sometimes it feels like storm on top of the storm, but the great thing is it's making our roots go deeper. And when that storm passes, we always snap back. You don't just come back. And so that's the exciting thing, and it was great putting that on display today. It certainly felt like a snapback moment, so it was a lot of fun. All right, thank you guys. God bless, and I mean, that's just the nature of who we are, just a team. Down the stretch, that's what it's going to take. Each and every game is, big team, little me approach. That's who we've been since the beginning, and that's what we got to continue to be. All right, happy Thanksgiving. God bless.
That was head coach Dennis Allen and multiple players following the 27-20 win over the Los Angeles Rams. Coach Allen said that the plan was to get Taysom Hill more involved, and that's exactly what they did today, something that they will continue to do going forward. Before we wrap this show up, we have to give linebacker Caden Ellis his flowers. He had 10 total tackles today. That is a career high for him, and it led the team. He had 1.5 sacks and a pass breakup. He has done a phenomenal job filling in for the injured Pete Werner. Any takeaways from you on the game overall and the win?
Well, I just think a nice overall effort from the team. Didn't turn it over, didn't commit a slew of penalties, only 15 penalty yards. If the Saints play that kind of clean football, they will give themselves an excellent opportunity to win games. So let's hope that that's one of the things that they continue to go forward with.
Yeah, good point. No penalties and no turnovers for the Saints today. It was an all-around great performance. The Saints take the 27-20 win over the Rams. They're 4-7 on the season, and they look forward to playing at San Francisco next Sunday. In the meantime, have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll check in with you throughout the week.